going on with this whole Bob Arum stuff? Like Bob's saying that things really have.
I think there's 2 or 3 Bob Arums. I think there's more than one. He's definitely trying to put the pressure on. And listen, this has definitely gone on a few more days than I expected it to. But it's a big deal, Michelle.
So what's the situation with arbitration? Because I know the last time we spoke, you said, everything's fine, we're moving forward. Doesn't seem like everything's fine. Deontay Wilder's missus left a comment on a post that I did regarding, Saudi Arabia being announced as the site. And she's like, well, he can't fight anyone until he fights Deontay next. So is there a step aside? What's going on? Is there any?
Their business. Look, this arbitration is not going to lead to an injunction to stop at the undisputed fight. If they have to do a deal with Deontay Wilder, I have no idea. But it is ongoing. We saw Tyson Fury, I think, went to a hearing. They have to go through that process.
But if Tyson is held with some sort of fine.
Honest, I'm reassured that's not even an issue. Listen, if that happens, there's absolutely nothing I can do about it. That's out of my control. To be honest with you, when I saw the comments last night, part of me felt, do you know what? Let's just leave it. You know what I mean? And then part of me felt, no, you've got to deliver for AJ.
But surprisingly, Eddie Hearn acknowledged the arbitration and stated,
if they have to do a deal with Deontay Wilder, I have no idea. If that happens, there's absolutely nothing I can do about it. That's out of my control.
That's their problem. But my question, why guarantee the fans the fight is going to happen? Why not mention, I'm doing everything I can to make the fight come to fruition, but if the fight doesn't happen, it's not my fault, it's on their end, on Tyson Fury, because he's going through arbitration. Just like Tyson Fury promoter said, Frank Warren, where the arbitration may prevent the AJ fight from coming to fruition. I don't understand why Eddie Hearn just want to take the blame by continue to promise the fans the fight is going to be announced in a week or so. He's been telling the fans that for the past 6 months. What's your take on what Eddie Hearn had to say, acknowledging that if the fight doesn't happen, well, it ain't my fault. It's on their end. He's trying to say whatever happens in arbitration is not up to me. What's your thoughts on that?
I think, honestly, that fight was never going to happen because I'm pretty sure that he's got to fight Wilder before he can fight anybody. So I think really they're just trying to build a fight that may never happen because if Wilder gets his revenge, we already know AJ is going to duck him. And who knows what's going to happen to Fury. He might go back into depression or drugs or whatever the case is. So, I mean, Eddie Hearn is just being typical Eddie Hearn, the most unprofessional boxing promoter in the history, probably. Well, his father might have been worse, but I don't know. I don't take anything Eddie Hearn says seriously at all, just because he contradicts himself nonstop, and he honestly just sounds like a hypocrite every time he speaks. Yeah. And as far as this fight goes, it doesn't even make sense because the Wilder trilogy needs to happen before that. But every time he speaks, as far as this fight goes, it doesn't even make sense because the Wilder trilogy needs to happen before that.
It don't make sense to me that Eddie just want to ruin his reputation and credibility because the fans are going to remember this. All these millions of fans that he promised the fight is going to happen and he guaranteed that the fight is going to happen without mentioning the fact that could be the roadblock for the fight to come to fruition, such as the arbitration, where he could easily, like I said before, just say, I can't guarantee this. I could guarantee everything on my end, but I can't guarantee everything on their end. Why he didn't just come out and say that from day one? But just to try to push the narrative that Wilder doesn't have a case. Mind you, Bob already came out and said, I don't know why Eddie Hearn is talking. I don't know why Eddie is telling every little detail of negotiations to the public. He should keep that behind closed doors because I bet the fight is not going to happen with AJ. This is what Bob Arum said. After the arbitration meeting, Bob Arum came out and said, I bet the AJ fight is not going to happen next. Most likely Wilder is next. So why would you want to go against Bob? Why would you want to go against Bob? If Bob is already telling you, I bet the fight is not going to happen, why would you want to go against Bob say so when he attended the arbitration meeting?
I mean, Bob is definitely not the best either at keeping his word, but at the same time, the one thing I'll give Bob, even though I'm not a a huge fan of him myself. Bob is so old that he just straight shoots everything, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Straight
like, when
shooter.
Bob says something, yeah, he just says it. He doesn't even think about the controversy it creates. Like, just like when he said that he was in the hole because of Tyson Fury. That's not what a promoter should be telling the public. But at the end of the day, Bob just says whatever. He's so old, he just says whatever is on his mind, you know? So, and him and Eddie Hearn have had a lot of disputes when the Crawford, Amir Khan, they were going back and forth about different things. And I mean, Eddie's just trying to keep AJ relevant. And I think it has to do too with the Pulev fight when AJ asked the crowd, like, who do you want me to fight next? And they all started screaming Fury. And Chris Mannix says to Eddie Hearn, well, that's your job. You got to make this happen. And I think Eddie Hearn's ego doesn't want to admit that the next fight for Fury is Wilder. And no matter what, he wants to just like plant this narrative that Fury and AJ are going to fight because, yes, it would be the UK's biggest fight if it were to happen. But at the end of the day, he doesn't understand the simple contract that Wilder and Fury have for the trilogy fight.
Right.
And he just, I don't know, for whatever reason, wants to just make himself look foolish again and keep painting this false narrative that this is going to be the next fight. And if it isn't his fault. Well, for one, you don't know what's going on with the whole Wilder situation. You don't promote Fury or Wilder. So how can you speak on their business and say that Fury is just going to skip the Wilder fight without any compensation to Wilder and screw Wilder out of his trilogy match, which is on contract, which I believe would be illegal. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but I would assume so. And all of a sudden, this AJ fight is just going to magically happen because it would make Eddie Hearn a ton of money.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Eddie Hearn, just to inform the public that don't know, he has one more fight with Anthony Joshua. So Anthony Joshua next fight is last fight on the Eddie Hearn contract with Matchroom. So he's trying to obviously capitalize.
Why he's doing it then.
Yeah, he obviously trying to capitalize on trying to secure the biggest fight possible. I'm pretty sure if it was Deontay Wilder that was available, he probably would have did whatever it takes to get the Wilder fight at this moment in time, because this is AJ's last fight under his contract. So as soon as he loses AJ, he's no longer going to make that money on a mega fight between Fury or Wilder in the future. Also, on another note, Tyson Fury came out and said, I'm not talking about the arbitration anymore because I figured in America, everything you say can be used against you in the court of law. And I just want to say, duh. I mean, I thought that's how it works everywhere, but apparently Tyson Fury didn't know.
There was a meeting between your camp and Wilder's camp, and coming away from it, Bob Arum said it seemed more like a negotiation than a lawsuit. And at that time, it seemed like the Joshua fight might have been in trouble. How close were we to losing the Joshua fight altogether?
I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know. I don't get involved in boxing politics. I'm not a promoter. I have no comment anymore because, as I know, interviews can be used against you in the court of law. So I don't know about any fights. I don't know about any fights that's going on with me. If you want to know any fights stuff, you better speak to the promoters or the lawyers. I'm just a dumb fighter who trains every day. That's all I know.
He thought he was going to get the benefit of the doubt with the judge, but the judge is not with no nonsense. They're not like the old media. They're not going to show favoritism or biasness toward Tyson Fury. The judge is going to judge based upon the information provided and who's right or wrong. And apparently the arbitration is leaning toward Wilder and they favoring Wilder. Apparently the arbitration is kicking Tyson Fury ass because this man said, I will never fight Deontay Wilder again. And now he entertaining the idea of fighting Deontay Wilder for a third time. So there's obviously a shift there. The fact that Tyson Fury and Bob Arum have been telling the media that the fight is going to happen with Anthony Joshua, Wilder can't stop the fight from coming to fruition. This arbitration is not really that serious. The fact that they kept telling the public that backfired on them most likely in the court of law, because I'm pretty sure if I'm Deontay Wilder, I will bring that up to the judge's attention. I will tell my lawyers, y'all telling me I can't talk about this arbitration case. I can't do no interviews about it. But Tyson Fury and Bob Arum keep telling the public that Wilder can't do nothing. This arbitration case is not that serious. And he's already negotiating and signing a deal to fight Anthony Joshua, a 2-fight deal. So I'm pretty sure the judge...
Yeah, what they say one week, and then the next week they say something totally different. And he goes on Kellerman and tells Kellerman, I'm not even going to acknowledge Wilder.
The judge just probably told Tyson Fury and Bob Arum that you guys be telling the public that this arbitration case is not that serious. So this is not your call. This is my call. So we told you guys don't speak about it, and you guys continue to speak about it. I just think they got in trouble for doing so. This is why they refuse to speak about it now. And they hinting at the fact that they leaning toward Deontay Wilder instead of AJ. And it's funny that a month ago, news came out that AJ and Fury signed a contract.
Got a contract at the moment that Tyson Fury will not sign. If the guarantees are there, then it's not a problem. Until Tyson is satisfied that the money that's in that contract is guaranteed by a bank, then it ain't going to get signed. That's the crux of the matter. That's probably like, 85% of what it's all about.
So what did they sign before? I thought they already agreed to the money. I thought they already agreed to everything, because when you say they signed the contract will include every single detail in it. It will include the size of the ring, the gloves, the location, every specific little detail. It will include it in the contract, from the money, the pay-per-view split, so on and so forth. So what did they sign? Did they just sign a term sheet? I don't even think they signed a term sheet, because if they have to agree to the money,
I don't think they signed anything.
That's what I'm saying. So it was just all smoke and mirrors by
I don't
media.
think they can violate the Wilder contract legally. You know what I'm saying? He was promised a third fight. It's not Wilder's fault that COVID happened and they had to postpone the rematch. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't think legally he can fight anybody. Well, I mean, like I said, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know for sure, but I the way they keep running in circles, they say like this topic has been going on for months, and every week there's some new news update. It's like, oh, we got the Wilder trilogy. Then the next week, no, he's going to fight Joshua for Undisputed. No, Frank Warren says this. No, Bob Arum says this. No, Eddie Hearn says this. No, Wilder's in training and he's getting really ready for the trilogy match. It's just, I don't believe any of it. I think it's all just hype and just people trying to make themselves relevant in the heavyweight division.
Hold it. You're not that pretty. I'm a bad man. Wait. I still got the wall. I got the wall.
I bear witness, there's only one God, Allah, and Muhammad is his final messenger. That's what I said, Larry, on the Bungle fight. Thanking you.
They call me the problem, but you could call me the can man, because anybody can get it. Africans, Americans, Dominicans, Mexicans, anybody can get it.